Yeah.
And recording. Hello, Louise Anne. After such a struggle with technology, we are finally recording.
Yes, thank you so much for your patience, and I'm so glad that we were actually getting to have this conversation.
Yeah, I have been meaning to invite you to come on my YouTube channel since I met you in Bath, and we had this brief conversation about toxic relationships, because that was one of the things I talked about, and you talked about this as well. And you also this is sort of it's part of your business, isn't it, to sort of help people to heal from toxic relationships. And I quite like the quote on your website: heal your past to free your future.
Yes.
It's very empowering. It's very empowering. It's very true, isn't it? You can't move on with your life unless you heal your past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of us underestimate the amount or the impact that toxic relationships actually have on our future, because a toxic relationship will give you a different identity about how you see yourself. So a bit about me: I'm Louise Anne. I'm a female empowerment coach and a keynote speaker. I specialize in helping women who have experienced toxic relationships and domestic abuse. I got into this space through experiencing emotional abuse myself, first from my father and then from my ex-husband, and learning to heal that so that that trauma didn't continue with my children. So I'm an NLP master practitioner. I've also got qualifications in hypnosis, EFT coaching. So I've done a whole lot of studying on this subject. And I think what really comes down to it is the fact that when we have a distorted perception of ourselves, then the decisions that we make will not be aligned with who we really are. They will be aligned with who we've had to be in order to survive. So if in a toxic relationship, so my definition of a toxic relationship is any relationship where you've had to put on a false persona in order to maintain that relationship. And a lot of times we can do that when we're children, because a lot of us get praised and kind of complimented for being mature for our age, or for being so quiet. Oh, such a quiet child, so lovely, such a happy child, all of these. And so we put on a persona or an idea that that's who we have to be in order to be accepted by others. And then when we grow up and we become adults, we continue to live behind these different masks. Who do I need to be in order for you to accept me? But it does mean that we restrict ourselves, because you don't want to outshine other people, or you don't want to be seen as arrogant or too overbearing. You don't want to be too loud, too much. And so you limit yourself and you keep yourself small, but it means that you're never living to your full potential, because you're minimizing yourself. And so you will minimize what you're able to achieve and what you're able to do. You'll minimize your joy and your happiness. And so I think it's really important for us to realize that who we are is not defined by other people's opinions. And when you start to step out of that and say you're entitled to your opinions, but they do not define me, that's when we start to take back that power.
I read someone on Facebook some long time ago, one of these funny memes or whatever they're called. I'm going to take your opinion and I'm going to put it right here between fact this and fact that.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, it's true, isn't it? I often say to people I know and people I work with, the only opinion that should matter to you is yours, no one else's. And it's frightening that children are being brainwashed. I think that is a good word. It's such an early age, and then continuing to be brainwashed until they become adults. And they never actually understand or realize that they need to break the cycle. How do you, because obviously when it comes to healing, it's a personal choice, you can't force it on someone, but how do you realize that, you need to break the cycle?
I think everybody has their own experience. And the thing is, there are a lot of people that will never have that realization. The number of people that will have that realization and go, hold on, I don't want this to continue, is very small. Because what you're actually doing when you're breaking the cycle is you are teaching your children to live free of people pleasing, which means you are giving your children the opportunity to opt out of pleasing you. So it's very uncomfortable for people. So I say to my girls that they're not obligated to maintain a relationship with anybody in their life. There is nobody that they are obligated to have a relationship with except themselves.
Yes.
Everybody else is additional to that. So when you are an adult, you're not obligated to have a relationship with me if you choose not to, or your sisters, or they're not obligated to maintain that relationship. And that's very uncomfortable for parents, because they're like, well, you know, I don't want my children to cut me off. Then in my opinion, you have to earn your place in their life. You have to be somebody that they want in their life, not that they're maintaining a relationship because they have to. You know, I never want my children to think, oh I don't want to go see her, or I don't want to do this, but I have to because she's my mum. It's like, no, I want them to see me as an individual and respect me as an individual and choose to have me. And so telling my children that you're not obligated to maintain a relationship with your sister, you know, it's not that automatic connection that you have simply because you share DNA. You get to choose whether they're in your life or not. It means that I have to work on who I am to my daughters, and I cannot take that relationship for granted and assume that I'm always going to be there. So I have to continue to work on myself by giving them the freedom of choosing me. And that's the thing. And it's very uncomfortable. It goes against societal norms. And a lot of people don't want to continue to have to work to always be part of somebody's life. It's like, well, I've earned your respect. Well, it's a continual progression. You know, you have to continue to earn respect. Oh, well, they should just have, I gave birth to them, I deserve that. Well, no, you don't, because if you're detrimental to their mental health, you know, then you don't deserve that. And it's that constant work, and knowing that it isn't, when you do choose to break the cycles, it isn't one of those things. It's like, oh, this is all going to be nice and lovely. It's like, okay, we're breaking the cycles, but we're going against society and the way everybody else believes we have to be in order to do that. And I'm willing to put in the work for you, you know. So it's not a clear cut. It's a constant progression.
Healing, I often say that healing is a journey, not a destination. Just because you had, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 healing sessions doesn't mean that that's it, you know, your job is done. I've started my healing sessions in May last year, and I still have them on a regular basis, even though, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. I've never been happy in my life, but just because I'm so in such a good place, it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working on myself. And I think people, part of the problem is the system, is the world we're living in. Is you know, there is the magic pill, everything is going to be fine now. No. And the thing is, healing, it's hard work. It requires a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy. And people can't be bothered, and that makes me sad. It's but the thing is, you can't make people to take the first step. We all have free will at the end of the day. Like you know, you gave example with your girls. Basically what you're teaching them is, you know, embrace your free will.
Yeah, and I think when you try to push other people into healing, you're trying to take control of their life. And that's not your right. You don't have a right to control other people's lives, other people's choices. You don't have a right to turn around and say, I know what's right for you in your life, so I'm going to make the decisions for you. You have to step back and say, okay, I only know what's right for me in my life, and I have to give you the opportunity to step into the power and do what's right for you in your life. You know, and that's not just, sometimes we see what other people need to do in their lives in order to improve their lives, but they might not want to. You know, the healing journey isn't for everybody. You know, it's going to happen no matter what, but it's kind of like there are some people that will choose to go all in and kind of like really embrace it, and there are other people that are just going to potter along. You know, it's that whole thing that everybody is here to experience their own version of reality. And not, you know, because you know, the whole thing, if people believe in past lives and all of that kind of thing, it's looking and saying, not every past life that you had was going to be extraordinary. There are going to be past lives when you just had a very mundane life, but you were just here to experience things.
Yeah.
That's the same. Everybody's here on their own journey. Everybody is here to have their own experiences. Not everybody is living this life in order to push through those healing doors. You know, some people just want to live, and that's okay. That's fine for them. But it's a choice that they have, and they get to make for themselves. We can't push it on anybody else.
Yeah. I like when you said there about past lives, because I believe in these sort of things. I believe in karma. And what I feel responsible as a woman is in it, and I'm sure one day I'm going to be a mother, is that I want to work on myself, because I don't want to pass my trauma to my child. Because what people don't realize is that as we give birth to a child, or as we intimate with someone else, we pass on our traumas to these people, and then it becomes a vicious circle until someone actually is wise enough or healed enough to say, that's enough, enough is enough, I'm going to do my healing work, and then the energy will change. But I think that's way too spiritual for people these days.
I think it's one of those things, you've got to give yourself permission. Because the thing is, if you actually have a look at it, it is in genetics, and they've proven that there's a scientific proof that actually trauma that is experienced lives within the DNA and genetics for up to 8 generations. So epigenetics or something like that. But it is, they've done scientific studies, and it is proven that massive amounts of trauma will live within the DNA of the family line, and it will continue for 8 generations. And females, the eggs that you have within you were within you when you were within your mum. So we are born with all of the eggs that we are ever going to have in our life. So our children, the eggs that will become our children, were actually present within us when we were within our mum. So that's 3 generations that actually consumed the same body in the same form at the same time. Like, that's how intermingled female trauma is in the way that we are. I don't think it's so much about, because I've got 4 daughters, I don't think it's so much about not putting my trauma onto my children. I have traumatized each of them in their own ways. I have been wrong, and I have been hurtful, and I have been damaging in some way. All of my children have got trauma in some way from who I have been, or things that I have done, or things that I have said. And it's very difficult to tell myself, I'm not going to traumatize my kids, because you don't have that power.
Right.
I was in a group previously, and there was these 2 women, and they were talking about their childhoods, and one of them was talking about the trauma of her childhood, where her parents were very pushy, constantly kind of like, I want you to achieve this, go for this, go for this, like believed in her, but kept pushing her. And she was like, I just wish that I felt like they just loved me for who I was instead of what I achieved. And somebody else in that group was like, I wish my parents had pushed me, because they always said, you know, I'd love you if you were a bin man. So I always believed that they never expected anything from me. And so these 2, so it didn't really matter. Both of these women experienced trauma based on their childhood. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Yeah. It's not about not, like, we don't want to massively traumatize our children, but we can't interpret the way they are going to perceive what we do.
Yeah, I understand.
It's their filter. They are living their lives through their filter. What we can do is we can teach them that they have the capacity to heal from anything that we do, that they have neuroplasticity, and any limiting beliefs or anything that they need to learn to grow, to improve, to heal, they have the capacity to do. It's about giving them the tools and techniques and saying, you have the capacity to heal from anything that I may have done to you, and I will support you in that healing journey however you need me to. And it's that's what we can do for our children.
Mm.
that's the best gift that we can give them.
Yeah, that is really good. I really like that, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I think because I'm not a mother and I don't see parenthood the way you do, probably, and I'm sure I'm sure a lot of things will change when I become a mom, and maybe one day I will try and somehow brainwash my child to match my beliefs, but that is not going to be fair either, because the child, I want to teach my child to be a critical thinker, for example, to question me, why mommy did you do that, blah, 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 blah. Not just, okay, mommy said that, I'm just going to go with it.
Yeah, I think if you give them the freedom to question you,
yeah,
then
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
And they will question you, but there needs to be this allowance for parents, for mothers, for fathers, for adults, to admit that they are mistaken.
yeah,
My girls know that I make mistakes. If I do something, if I lose my temper, because I am human, if I lose my temper and I take something and I like, my reaction is not in line with whatever happened, for whatever reason, I might be triggered by my own past, or like I might be tired, or I might be hungry. Like there might be multiple reasons that me and my human form screws up. But when I talk to my girls about it, I take ownership of my mistakes.
yeah,
I let them know that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to screw up, and it's okay to lose your temper, and it's okay to have big emotions and struggle with them. It's okay. But what's not okay is to then not take ownership of them and not do anything about it. If I yell at my girls and I've misunderstood something and I'm in the wrong, I will go to them and I will apologize. And no matter what age, if I'm in the wrong, I will apologize to my children. They know that you can be an adult and you can be mistaken, and it's okay to apologize. And it's okay. Then you try and fix the mistakes that you've made, either by taking ownership of it and apologizing, or trying to fix or tidy up the mess that you've made, or learning from it and saying, okay, well, how can I be better next time? So if they've triggered me, I have to look and say, okay, well, why did I blow that out of proportion? What part of me was wounded and hurt to the point that I was unable to control my emotions at then? And then I look into my own healing, and it's okay, that's because when I was a child, I wasn't given that freedom, and that was how I was taught to react to that situation.
yeah.
And so I heal that part of me. So next time, and it's, as you said, it's a journey. Next time I will be better, probably not perfect. Then the time after that, I will continue and go, okay, I'm sorry, I'm doing better. I'm sorry, I'm trying harder. And that's it. And keep progressing until they reach the point where they'll do something. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not going to get angry about it. It's okay. I know you didn't mean to.
Sorry, carry on. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
And what I was going to say is this also teaches children to step away from their ego and focus on their heart center, because if you say to a grown man or a grown woman, you are wrong, do you know what's going to happen? The shouting, the swearing, possibly, because I say to people that they're wrong all the time at work, but and nobody likes it. And it's funny how it's easier to educate children than it is to educate grown people. I would assume that with grown people, it will be different, because they're grown, more mature, more intelligent, life experience, blah blah blah. But no, that is definitely not the case. People just love being stuck in their ego, and they don't even know that they're stuck in their ego.
And I think that is generational trauma. As children, we believed that adults were like beyond fault, like what they said was law, that you couldn't question them, that you couldn't criticize them, that you couldn't point out their mistakes, that there was no way that you could actually pull them up on that, because you have to respect your elders and blah blah blah. So I think that is a very generational thing, that we believed when we got to adults, we would then know everything and be able to do everything. And that was a proof that, look, I'm good enough. And when somebody points out that you are flawed, that you are mistaken, it's that whole, it hurts that wound of, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
It's almost like they've noticed, oh, you're not good enough. And when a lot of us have that kind of core fear of, I'm not good enough, I'm going to be rejected, people are going to see that I'm a fraud, people are going to see that I'm not, like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's that. And so it's that wound, that I'm not enough wound, that gets triggered when somebody points out that they've made a mistake. Whereas I know that I'm good enough. Even if I make mistakes, I am still good enough. Even if I type something wrong, like spelling mistakes or anything else on my posts or emails or anything else, it doesn't mean I'm stupid. I'm still smart enough to do what I do. I'm still capable enough of doing what I'm doing. And it's that. And people get so caught up on not making mistakes because they're scared that other people will see their insecurities. And I say that, like, life is vinegar. Situations are vinegar. And you can put your hand in vinegar and it doesn't hurt. But if you have a wound and you put your hand in vinegar, it stings. And that's it. People pointing out problems is the vinegar. It doesn't hurt unless you have that wound of, I'm not enough. And that wound is what stings. And so it's not the criticism that stings, it's the insecurity you have about your knowledge or your capabilities.
Yeah, I love this. I love this about the vinegar, actually. It's very interesting. I had this problem long time ago, because obviously English is not my first language. You know, what if I spell something wrong? What if if whatever I say doesn't make sense? What if I make a mistake while I'm talking to someone? And it took me a while to get to the conclusion. So what? If I made a mistake and you don't like it, don't listen to me, don't read my posts. It is what it is. You know, you can't. What can, even if English was my first language, I could still made a mistake.
I make mistakes all the time. Like, I know English people that still can't figure out the right spelling of your. Like, it's one of those things. If you're not insecure about it, it doesn't bother you. But it's life.
We're creating these blocks in our heads again because of, you know, fear mainly, and generational programming, or whatever you want to call it. And instead of letting go of this fear, we're somehow attached to it. We're in a relationship with fear, and we seem to be okay with it.
I think that is part of the toxic relationship. So it's like, a toxic relationship is where you put on a false persona in order to maintain relationships. The relationship that we have with society is a toxic relationship, because we have to put on a persona in order to be accepted within society. And that persona is actually one of fear. In order to fit in with the masses, you have to have fears and insecurities, and you have to have body insecurities, and you have to have all of these other things in order to fit in with the masses. Because if you don't have body insecurities, if you don't have fears, if you don't have anxiety, if you don't have all of this mental health issues, then you are one of the few and you don't fit in with most. So we actually put that facade on of, oh my gosh, I'm scared of that, or oh my god, like I'm really self-conscious about my body. And we put those facades on so that we can connect with others in society that also have those fears and insecurities. It's a way of us connecting with others, is by maintaining the same fears that others have.
I like what you said there, toxic relationship with society. I'm gonna write it down because I think it's very true. I've never thought about it. Yeah, and I'm sure I have written about this in the past, but we don't want to feel excluded.
No,
that's another thing. You know, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I see a lot of young girls with the same hairstyle, same clothes, same sort of style, same mobile phones. And I'm thinking, don't you people have an opinion, or and the answer is probably no. They just want to fit in. They want to be their teeny tiny little group. And probably I used to be like that when I was younger, but yeah, I think people just don't want to be in school. They want to be loved by someone else, but they don't want to love themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's like a primal thing. Like, humans are pack animals. We're not meant to be alone. It's why isolation, all of that kind of thing, it's really damaging to humans and their mental health. So because we're pack animals, like back in caveman days and everything else, exclusion from the group meant certain death. Like, if you were not part of the group, if you were not around the fire, if you were not like in the safety of the caves or whatever else, you were not within the village and you were on the outside of the village, you were vulnerable to predators, to starvation, to death. And that was it. So humans are pack animals. And being on the outside of the pack fills a lot with primal fear. Now, you can overcome a lot of fears. There are a lot of very like minimal fears, like spiders, all of that kind of fear of heights, spiders, blah blah blah. Those are surface level fears. Primal fears are like survival. This is what I need in order to survive, and to be accepted by the pack is a primal fear of rejection, because it is like we need other people in order to survive. And if you are too out there and too outrageous and too many people reject you, then how are you going to survive? And so we learn, and it's a primal fear. I don't want to be rejected. I want people to accept me. I want people to look after me. And when you're born, when you are a baby, it is survival. I have to be who my parents want me to be in order for them to look after me. I have to be whoever my parents need me to be. So I will put on a facade. Like, I will be the quiet child if they need me to be. I will be the silly one if they need me to be. Whatever I have to do in order to be cared for by my parents, I will do, because my survival is based upon them caring for me, them providing me with a roof over my head, or like shelter and food. And it's a survival thing. Then you go into teenage years, and suddenly hormones and everything else start kicking around, and now it's that connection and finding a tribe of your own. It's finding a connection with other people outside of the family unit. That's then that's what you do. You want to be accepted, and so you hide who you are in order to be accepted by others. And so it's very, very difficult to overcome that. When you're an adult, you get to the world is open to you, and there are so many opportunities for you to find your tribe. But that's why it's so important for you to know who you are, like who your authentic self is, and connection. And that's what so many of us that choose to do the healing work do. It's not about going through the healing with everybody else. It's about learning to know, who am I? What do I like? What are my priorities? What are my dreams? What are my visions? What are my beliefs? Like, authentically, deep down, soul level, who am I? And when you know yourself at that soul level, that's when you actually release a lot of the fears about being accepted by others, because you accept you. So you're like, I can survive this world because I've got me. And that's what the healing journey is. But it's all about self-acceptance. And until you do the healing work and realize that, your survival isn't dependent on your friends and your family, that's when you can actually do that and say, okay, I can survive this on my own.
Yeah, I often talk about self-love, self-worth, the power of self. And I said this to my fiance when we started dating. If you, and not only him, so many people, and to myself included, if I don't love myself, nobody else is going to do it for me. And since I learned to love myself, oh my God, the world is just amazing. But it took me a while to get there.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you don't love yourself and you don't accept yourself, what you will do is you will conceal the parts of you that you deem unlovable. You will hide the parts of yourself that you think other people won't accept. That's part of the facade that you live upon. So you're putting up this mask. Don't see my faults, don't see my flaws, don't see these parts of me, because I can't love them, so you're not going to be able to love them either. So you conceal these parts of you. So you have a mask, which means people can only love the mask that you hide behind. They'll never be able to know you and love you. If you can admit your mistakes, if you can admit your flaws, if you can be honest with that and allow yourself to be imperfect and flawed and mistaken, and you accept that, you're giving other people the opportunity to love and accept that too, which is why your relationship then goes to a really deep level, because now they get to love you and not the mask.
Yeah, and I also, one of the things I've learned, and it was a very difficult lesson, and we mentioned about this, just not to care about what people think of me, whether they accept me or don't accept me. I am sort of like, well, I accept myself, and if you don't like it, off you go.
Yeah.
And it works.
It's very rebellious, but it is one of those things. It's kind of like, it filters out a lot of people. If they're not going to accept you, then why are you going to put time, effort, and energy into nurturing a connection with them? It's like, it's okay to be rejected. It is actually safe to be rejected. There are 8 billion people on this planet. The majority of them aren't going to ever know you. And those that do get to know you, you get to decide whether or not you like them. You're not going to like them all. They're not all going to like you. It's okay. Their opinion doesn't demean or determine your worth. You're worthy no matter what. Their opinions, their ideas, or their perceptions of you are predominantly about them and their perception of the world. It doesn't actually impact you.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. Right, we've got another 6 minutes, unless there's anything else you want to talk about. We can join another link, or we can stay here and finish the recording. Are you okay with that?
It's up to you. So any questions that you have that you would like to ask, or anything you'd like to touch upon?
Well, I would like to ask first, the most important thing is, I mean, I know you can help a lot of women on their healing journey, but how they can find you, how they can find you.
So on social media, pretty much all of my social medias, it's Louise.Anne, ANNE.coaching. And then my website is www.louise-anne.co.uk. But so people can find me that way, and I specialize. So I teach tools and techniques to reconnect with your authentic self. So I have the Abuse to Empowered program, which is 4 steps that you go through to heal your connection and the relationship that you have with yourself, so you stop abusing and harming yourself, or allowing other people to be abusive or harmful towards you, and you step into your empowered self so that you can live the life that you love and desire.
Yeah, I will include all your links below the video, so everybody can find you. Well, Louise, thank you so much for today. Maybe we'll do another one day. You never know.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, they can always pop them below, and then either we can do a follow-up video and talk about like any topics that come up, or like we can respond to those.
Or we can go live one day.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm trying to sort of getting out of my comfort zone, going live on Facebook.
Absolutely, do it.
Yeah. And I think we'll be able to help a lot more people when we go live, and just reach out more, because I think people sometimes are afraid to ask for help as well, even though there's help available everywhere these days.
Yeah, and it's, but again, you have to admit, I don't know the answers, so I'm not. Again, it's that I'm not good enough fear. Like, if I ask for help, people will know that I don't know, and it's like, it's okay not to know.
It's okay.
It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be ignorant of things, and kind of like look for answers so that you don't continue to live with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Louise.
Thank you so much for having me.